Eric, I know you started this program by talking about Dave Meltzer and you almost got sidetracked. And I convinced you to just hold back and let's just do it at the end of the show because I did want to talk about the WWE thing and now this. Because something came out over the last week or so that got a lot of play in certain circles. David Bixenspan, a friend of the show, has done some work for WrestlingInc.com, and he pointed out that Dave may have gotten a story wrong. And I think you've taking a look at your social media feed, it feels like you've had a little fun with that.
Not only have I had a little fun with that, but what's really cool about it is I've gotten more views in the last 24 hours than almost as many views as Rampage got. How about
Oh,
that?
okay.
Let me pull it up here because I can't remember what I said. But
If you just want to go to at E Bischoff on Twitter, you can see all the goings on at E Bischoff on
yeah,
Twitter.
rather than read it, but you know, basically when I saw that article and I read it before I commented, Meltzer didn't get anything wrong. He was duped because he's a stooge and he's what I call a useful idiot. And I've known it for 30 years. But until David Bixenspan wrote that story on Wrestling Inc., and I encourage anybody who hasn't read it to go read it. So if you're a fan of Dave Meltzer or you read his dirt sheet, read that story because that story is a smoking gun example of what I've been saying, what Bruce Pritchard has been saying, what John Layfield has been saying, what anybody that's been in the business who knows has been saying for decades. He's a fraud. He takes whatever information anybody will give him. He doesn't double check anything. He doesn't try to get confirmation from multiple sources. If it fits his narrative, he prints it. And in this case, he not only printed it, he copied it and pasted it. And after I posted that, and I think I've got about 325,000 views right now and close to 3,000 likes. I mean, after that story broke and I reacted to it, I had other people giving other examples of how Dave will just take whatever information suits him at the point in time, whatever mood he's in, and will either repeat it or copy and paste it. It's just such a smoking gun example of who this guy really is. Now, you can like Dave personally. You've often said if I ever hung out with him, I might actually enjoy being. He might be a great person to hang around with and talk about wrestling with. But if you're relying on his opinion or his inside information, you're a fool. He is a first class con man. He's conned so many people for so long into thinking he has sources. The only sources he has are the people that are going to use him to spin whatever narrative they want out there in public because he knows he's enough of a stooge not to double check anything, not to verify anything, not to get multiple sources on anything. He's lazy, he's sloppy, and he's a useful idiot. But hey, if you have fun reading the sheet, by all means, continue. Just don't take it seriously.
Well, and see, that's where I kind of land. I like Dave personally, and I like to hear his opinion on wrestling because he has watched a lot of wrestling. So as a wrestling fan, I'm not going to call him a wrestling executive, but as a wrestling fan, he's seen a lot and has some interesting opinions or at least interesting to me opinions. So I've always read the Observer, understanding that by its very nature, it is sort of like the National Enquirer, where it's not a deposition. It's not just the facts, ma'am. There is some speculation. There is some rumor and innuendo. There is some guessing.
And some personal bias and agenda. You cannot leave that out.
Of course. Because let's be clear. His match rating system is always his opinion, and he's always said it was his opinion. Let's make a real estate analogy just because that's what I'm familiar with. You have an appraisal that will give you two costs. Most of the time, you have, hey, what is the cost of the construction? Like, what is the cost approach for this value on this home. And then there is the sales approach. And as you get deeper into the report, there'll be some subjective things and some objective things. An objective thing would be, is the house brick or stucco or vinyl siding? Is it 3 bedrooms or is it 4 bedrooms? How many bathrooms does it have? Those are things we can't really debate. They're just sort of facts. But hey, what is this house worth? That's where it gets really subjective, because we could go get 5 contractors to quote us kitchen remodels and we'll get 5 new numbers. It's not as if they're all going to hit the same number. So it's just like your opinion, man. And that's kind of what Dave offers in The Observer. So I've always viewed The Observer as, it's entertainment, it's one dude's opinion. He's watched a lot of wrestling, he's kept up with the business for a long time, and here's his information. But if you go listen to Gary Hart or Eric Bischoff or a handful of other folks, they would be proud to point out, well, this was wrong and that was wrong. But I never said, I want my money back for this Inquirer. All of this stuff wasn't accurate. And I kind of view the Observer the same way. And I know that I'm going to get a whole bunch of flack by comparing it to the Inquirer, but I don't know how it's different, in that the Inquirer is a lot of, here's what I heard reporting. The Observer is too. It's not like he's getting direct quotes from these organizations and just the facts. He's talking to folks and then reporting what they told him. Um,
And kind of, I don't mean to interrupt you, brother, but an
Please
important
do.
point: the distinction between the way you look at Dave and the way I look at Dave is, you say, yeah, and he gives you his opinion. No, he gives you his opinion in the form of a fact. He'll, if Dave said, in my opinion, I think this is going to happen, much like we're doing here, no issue with that. I'd probably subscribe. But when you start reporting your opinion as fact because you have a personal bias or agenda, now you're just a piece of shit, because that affects people. How many times have we read the information that Dave has reported as fact that's been wrong, that actually affects people? That's what people that aren't in the industry don't understand. Because unfortunately, there are some people that are either in the industry or on the periphery of it. For example, an advertiser or a shareholder or a talent. Maybe a talent, yeah, they're in the business, but they're affected personally by the misinformation and the opinion that Dave Meltzer has that he presents as a fact. That's my issue. And and that is why I'm passionate about this, because everybody goes, oh, it doesn't really matter. Why do you get so upset? Why do you hate Dave Meltzer? First of all, I don't hate Dave Meltzer, number one. But number two, I have a disdain for what Dave does, because he's not honest. You know, here's one for you. How outspoken have I been about CM Punk? A
Pretty
lot.
outspoken. Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
But I also believe that CM Punk has a bitch. I also believe that CM Punk has ground to stand on.
Yes.
And that hurt the business. That hurt Tony Khan's business. People get upset when I have an opinion that I express as an opinion about what I think is right or wrong about what's going on in AEW, which, by the way, let me take an opportunity here to put Tony Khan over and to put AEW over, because I think the quality of their show, the production values in their show, and the energy that comes along with it has taken a giant leap forward in the last couple of weeks. So kudos. Now, I don't think anybody can argue that the situation between the elite and everything else, that we don't need to go into it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Do I think that Dave Meltzer had a hand in that drama? I fucking absolutely do, because he's a stooge, and it hurt the business. That's why I'm so against it, because unlike some people who profess to, love the business, I don't do things to hurt it. Not intentionally. Dave does. And that's why I'm so vocal about pointing it out. And that's why I don't know David Bixenspan. I don't think I've ever met him. I don't think I've ever talked to him. If I did, it was whatever, in passing or in an interview 5 years ago or whatever. And I know he's a controversial individual, because had previously blocked him. And I don't block many people. I hardly ever block anybody on social media. The only time I block people on social media, on Twitter in particular, is number one, if they just post so much that it like clogs up my feed and it becomes an irritant. That's one. Or if people step into an area of opinion or expression that I find to be so ugly, racially, you know, vile kind of comments, I'll you're gone because I don't even want you thinking that I'm seeing your shit. But people that criticize me and like to rip me apart, I love those people. I find entertainment in those people. Now I may mute them if I just get tired of them, but I never want to give someone the satisfaction or the ability to think or to say that they got under my skin so much that I blocked them. Now, I did block David Bixenspan at one point. I don't remember doing it, but when when I actually yesterday I sent him a DM. Just in fact, I think what I said was "good on you"
Yeah.
for exposing Dave Meltzer for what he really is. It's about fucking time, and not only exposing him, but having a smoking gun to do it. Love that. So I went to send him a DM, and no, he's blocked. I went, oh shit, I got to unblock him. And sent him that DM. So I'm not putting anybody over here. I'm putting the fact that someone who I think is actually detrimental to the industry and the people in it, and to a large degree, the people that actually think he knows what he's talking about. I think he does them such a disservice, and he does the industry a disservice. And I'm really grateful that Bix and Span exposed him, and I'm grateful to Wrestling Inc. for having the balls to publish it.
Okie dokie.